let's be honest, no one likes to get negative feedback. Hey guys, I'm Madeline and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about getting negative feedback as a writer. I recently went through the critique partner, alpha reader and beta reader process with my book. So I gave people a book I'd been working on for 4 years and asked them to pull it apart, to tell me exactly what they thought, the good and the bad. And even though I asked for it, it was tough getting that negative feedback and working through it. I had a few days of being pretty depressed and just feeling like I wasn't a good writer at all. But I got through it with these 3 practical tips for getting through negative feedback. Now, before we dive into today's content, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want writing advice videos every single Friday and occasionally some great bonus content. So the first tip is, rather than sorting feedback into positive and negative, sort it into useful and not useful. You may think that only the negative comments are useful because that's what you need to change, right? That isn't always the case. I've seen that sometimes criticism can be not useful and positive feedback can be very useful for editing your book. So the important question to ask yourself when you're sifting through feedback is, does this point out a particular aspect that can and should be changed? Some negative comments that are actually not useful are subjective comments, generalizations, and mean-spirited criticism. So if someone says, I don't like the swearing in the book, that is subjective. So that reader may not like cursing or swearing in books, while other readers might like the fact that you're writing it more realistically and candidly. Of course, if a bunch of readers point out that the amount of cursing in the book takes away from the plot and takes away from reader immersion, then that might be something to change. Then that is useful feedback. You should also keep in mind that readers who usually read different genres might not like your book, and that is okay. And then broad or general negative comments also aren't very useful. This is something like, I didn't like this book. This can hurt a lot, but you have to realize that this isn't feedback that you should even be taking in because it isn't useful at all. It doesn't help you make your book better, it doesn't help you address a specific aspect, and it doesn't help you understand the problem. And it definitely doesn't indicate to you what you're supposed to be editing. And then 99.9% of the time, a mean-spirited comment won't be useful because this person isn't trying to help you. They're tearing you down and they're being a prick. So realize that this is more of a projection of their own insecurities than a reflection of the quality of your work. So I had a beta reader give me incredibly condescending, mocking, kind of with a mocking tone feedback, and I removed them from my beta list immediately because it wasn't helping me at all. I can take constructive criticism, but I don't have to tolerate a dick. And then there could also be positive feedback that can show you things you need to edit in your novel that can be very useful. For example, if you get the feedback, I like character Y because she has a very clear goal, that may indicate that you need to strengthen the goals or motivation of some of your other characters. And then practical tip number 2 for dealing with negative feedback is to consolidate the useful feedback. So I know that when you get that negative feedback and you read it, you just want to crawl into a hole and never come out again. But the whole reason you ask for that feedback is so that you can make your book better. So it isn't necessary to go through it. You're gonna have to work through those negative comments. So once you have identified what feedback is useful, I suggest isolating those useful comments into a single edit document. So in this document, you will simply list the things that you need to look at when you go through the editing process. You put it into your own words, and it's a simple, neutral toned feedback editing list. So this way, the notes are your own, they're neutral, and you don't have to sift through those negative comments ever again. And finally, don't disregard the positive comments. I know this kind of legs with my first tip But hear me out. I feel like it's kind of human nature to focus on the negative things. So especially when we are focusing on edits, we tend to look at all of the negative things, all the things that we need to change. But this is not good for your mental health, and it's actually not good for your writing either. Even though it may not be directly relevant to the round of edits you're doing at the moment, positive edits are still valuable, even if they're not useful for this particular purpose. For your writing career, it's always good to know what your strengths are. And if you save the praise, you can always revisit it for a morale boost when self-doubt or imposter syndrome is getting you down. So yeah, those are my 3 tips for dealing with negative feedback, or really dealing with any type of feedback as a writer, how to organize it and how to keep your mental health somewhat okay, even though you are getting some negative comments. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell if you want writing advice videos every single Friday, and occasionally some great bonus content. As always, you can find me on my website, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter. All the links are listed below, and I will see you guys in next week's video. Bye!